It's controversial.
Having that guy around is the best thing that ever happened to the squad.
If you have the right mix of autism and steroids,
all these pundits and whatnot, a lot of people doubting me, you know.
I don't want to fucking have a conversation while I'm showering, you know, like, the hobby I do is already so gay.
You are now listening to the El Segundo podcast with Craig Jones.
All right, we're here, episode, it could be 19, maybe 20. We're here with martial arts expert, fashion designer, gay activist, and OnlyFans male porn star, Kit Dale.
I think you missed a few things, but thank you for having me on.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since, when did I see you last? LA sometime, hey?
I think when you came to LA, we trained, man, it was like over a year ago for sure.
Yeah, time fucking flies by.
Before your transition, I think it was.
Before I transitioned and transitioned back, actually, yeah. It doesn't all come back though.
Did you? You got it back?
For you.
Fuck, man.
You didn't like it last time.
I could go through 10 of those processes and I'm not going to lose anything.
We have a long dating history. I think I first met you, actually, this is a funny story, right? I first met you at a tournament in Adelaide, South Australia, when I still lived in Adelaide. I remember the first time I laid eyes on you, there was only one toilet at this event. And I've gone into the toilet, I've taken a filthy, nervous pre-competition turd. I opened the door and you had to go in there next. And I remember to myself, that's the first victory I've had over this man.
Well, honestly, I really enjoyed it. So I don't know if you're going to call it a victory. It's one of my pastime hobbies. I do, it's so funny. I don't remember that. I think I suppressed that memory. I do remember the first time I saw you though, because I was a couple belts ahead, I think I was, and you were a couple weight divisions below in the female division. And I saw you do and people were talking about you a lot. And honestly, I didn't like it because I wanted to be talked about a lot, and but I used to hear your name pop up a lot, and I saw you at a couple competitions, and I remember seeing your legs were quite limber. You didn't have much hair on your legs back then, not like you do now. They were smooth.
Very smooth.
And you were doing quite well. You were really rubbery.
Rubbery, yeah. You know what's funny is you talk about not liking the next generation. You didn't actively suppress me, but for me personally, whenever I see a good up and comer, I think, hey, let's take this guy out. Let's give him some cocaine. Let's see if we can sabotage his career, hold him back a bit, give me a couple years more in the game.
Bro, if I could turn back time, I would have done that. If I had known what you were going to become back then, there was a lot of things I would have done different. I probably wouldn't be free today, put it that way. I'd be locked up somewhere.
You would have just helped me actually back then, give me cocaine, I think.
Look, I mean, I hate you for a lot of reasons, okay? One,
that's why we're in the therapy chairs.
I used to be one of Australia's best grapplers. I think at one point I was Australia's best grappler. And then this little fuck come along and ruined everything for me. I remember the moment that happened when you beat Leandro Lowe, and I was happy, I was celebrating, but a part of me was crying inside.
Tears of real tears. They were like, oh, you're so happy.
People thought I was happy. I was devastated. I remember thinking, this is so good, but this is fucking me big time. I think you were a big reason I came back into jiu-jitsu, to be honest with you, because I think it was 2014, I got burnt out. It was my first year of black belt, and up until then, I was really interested in jiu-jitsu and competing as well. And then I did about a year at black belt, and I kind of just got bored. And then I went back to play Australian rules football with my brother, and I hurt my knee, and I had to get a knee reconstruction and stuff. And I did that, and I got more into acting back then. And I didn't have money to fix my knee. I remember that, so I got a role in acting, which paid like $50,000. So I got my knee fixed because I wasn't on health insurance. And then I came back to
You said that
Lachlan.
was tough on the body, that acting gig, right?
What's that?
You said that was quite a physically demanding role.
Yeah, there was a lot of fight scenes, and my ACL was still broken at the time when I did it, and I didn't tell them. They said, have you got any injuries? I'm like, no, I'm good. And then I had to do a lot of shit. My knees would pop in and out. It was pretty scary. I had to run with these gumboots on. But I got the knee fixed, and I came back, and this is when you were at Lachlan's at this time. And then I trained with you, and I was like, fuck, okay, holy shit, this kid's good. And I don't remember. I think at that time I was still. I think I was still a bit better than you at that stage, but I was like, damn, he's really good. And Lachlan improved a lot, and that was the only reason I came back, honestly, because I was like, I can't let this little fucker beat me. I got to come. I got to get better. And so you were honestly the main reason that I actually came back into jiu-jitsu, which was one of the worst decisions of my life. I should have just stuck to what I was doing at the time, but I remember that. That was horrible.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu does ruin people's lives. I mean, here's the thing. If you have not much going on in your life, jiu-jitsu will help it. But if you have a great career, great prospects in other areas, jiu-jitsu will totally fuck that up for you.
Jiu-jitsu ruined everything for me, bro. I could have been something special right now. I put it into jiu-jitsu.
That was back then, actually. You helped make jiu-jitsu a bit cooler back then, because I think, like, everyone was so fucking serious and just weird. And, like, a lot of the times coming up as a gringo, a lot of the Brazilians I don't think they would, it's not that they'd hate you, but it would be like fighting Muay Thai in Thailand. It's like, it's their thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, especially if you did good, they wouldn't like you. But what I liked about you would take the piss out of the whole sport, which the sport is pretty fucking silly.
Yeah, it's a bit ridiculous. I think because I came from more of a football background, and my cousins are really funny, and anytime I went to any kind of function, they were just making fun of me. Like when I started going bald when I was about 21, and my cousin would see me and he'd be like, "Hey, thinners, what's going on?" I'd be like, "Fuck!" I just got so used to that. It was always fun, and when I got into jiu-jitsu, I just naturally wanted to have that same banter, but a lot of people took it so seriously, and I definitely got a lot of hate. I mean, and you're right, like when I went to Brazil for the first time when I was a purple belt, and I was competing at the Brazilian Nationals, purple belt. I beat Tinoco in the final for that one. It was a really cool event, but man, I remember training with Gordo's crew. I forgot what they were called.
The half guard guy, right?
Yeah. And one guy, this purple belt, because I was beating him, and I think they just got so mad because there's an Australian guy beating them. He picked me up and ran me into a concrete wall, like boom, like that. Gordo yelled at him and stuff, but I was like, fuck, man, they don't really like us right now. Not all of them. There was a lot of Brazilians that were really cool.
That's them knocking on the door now.
That's up there. Keep you down there.
He's still upset.
I remember you, man. But I think it was cool because when we used to train, and that's why I liked you a lot, because when we'd train, we would always try and, I think we both had our cameras out for most of the time we're training and just trying to record it. We're doing something dumb.
Do something fucking, attack each other, make a joke out of it. You did that funny video where I swear you did a rolling breakdown of us, but you talked shit for 10 minutes. I didn't even think you took a breath.
I did. I was on oxygen treatment after that.
That's actually a skill you learnt in acting, right?
Yes. I don't think I was acting, though.
I remember you told me actually you wanted to get into acting because you went to a lot of auditions and you realized what went on there, and you said, you know what, I might become a producer.
Well, I was actually hoping the opposite. I was hoping I would come in a producer. That's
the ultimate power shift, eh? But we trained. So you had a gym in Melbourne that got taken over by Lachlan. I think I visited it when you still owned it, and then I moved there when Lachlan took it over, and I think I was in Melbourne from 2015 to about 2018. But you came back to training probably 2016, 2017.
Yeah. I think like the gym was doing really well, and then you showed up, and then it just dropped. So I had to get rid of it. No, I think the owners that I was working with, they invested a lot of money in it. And the area we're in was just not going to really work. We actually tried to buy a bigger gym, and like the week before we had it, someone come in and gave them a cash offer for something else.
That was me, actually. Yeah.
That was fucking rat. And then we ended up getting a smaller place, and we just couldn't get enough numbers in there to make the money back. So the investors were getting upset, so they came into me and they said, "Look, Kit, do you want the gym? We'll just give it to you," and I would have to take over it. And at the time, I was not really interested, and I kind of got a little bit burnt out, and I wanted to go more into acting and stuff like that. So we gave it, pretty much just handed it across to Lachlan for $1.
For $1.
And he teamed up with Simon from Absolute MMA and took over. And then I was traveling for a little bit. I think I was filming for a little bit. And 2016 I came back, and that's when you were there. And
it's hard running a gym though. Like what we love about jiu-jitsu is just showing up, training with good people, having a good time, getting out of there. And then you think to yourself, if you have a regular job, you're like, oh, I'll open a gym. I'll have that every day. But really, you're working 6 days a week at least. You're teaching every class. You're having to learn sales, marketing. You're having to, obviously this sounds so silly, you have to literally remember everyone's name, things about them. It's like you have to manage a community and it fucking absorbs your life. And that, I feel like it can burn you out running a gym.
Man, for starters, I didn't know half my own students' names. I had to give them nicknames literally just because I didn't know what they were called. And it's you attract so many weirdos in jiu-jitsu. Like, let's be honest, most jiu-jitsu people are weird.
Ben Hodgkinson was there for 6 years and you still didn't know his name.
What's his name? Did he beat you in a match?
Did he? But yo, actually, this is a funny story, right? This is a funny story. So, me and Ben were kind of like frenemies, right? So I think we actually
was frenemies with everybody, Ben, even his own coach.
Yeah, that's true. But we were at it was more of like a rivalry because we were both sort of after the same goals, and he was a really good up and coming purple belt, and I think I beat him with a footlock when I had no business beating him, and then we had a rematch at Abu Dhabi World Pro. But World Pro were giving out 2 tickets, and in the gi I had won the first ticket. And Lachlan Giles made me go into the second tournament. And he's like, I want you to go in there and help Ben win a ticket to clear out the divisions, which I don't think I really was needed because I think he was going to win it anyway. Mm-hmm. But I remember what happened was I say to Ben, I'm like, all right, we're going to have a scam match. I'm going to shoot. You just hit me with some sort of front head attack. So I shoot, he submits me, I tap, and then he wins the ticket. And then the next day, it became his profile picture.
You know, that's so funny because he's fucked you there. But remember, he fucked me because remember me and you had a match at his time.
So we had another fake match.
Yeah, we had a match, and you know, we needed money. Okay, they were going to pay money, but we didn't want to compete against each other. So we made a deal that we would just scramble and just train, like go hard, but try and finish the points even. And we did this. We finished the points even. And then fucking Ben went and raised your hand to win the match.
I actually gave him $500 for that.
You sack of shit. I get today, like my own brother just got into jiu-jitsu and he's like, hey man, Chris Craig beat you back in the day. I'm like, yeah, let me talk to you right now, bro. Just shut your fucking... Look, I mean, honestly, it doesn't bother me that much because you were beating everybody.
I made it my profile picture.
But I still want that deleted from my record.
Yeah,
it's still on my thing.
It's still up there, right? Yeah. That can never be removed. Actually, speaking of fake matches, but not fake match, right? One of the worst times, because you know, sometimes I'll do tournaments back in the day where there'd be prize money and you might just split. You might just say to your opponent, or your opponent might come to you and be like, let's fight, but let's split the cash. Mm-hmm. So I remember DJ Jackson, wanted by the law for statutory charges, DJ Jackson, right? He calls me, he comes to the tournament in Australia. First of all, I didn't know if he'd get into Australia because he had an open warrant, but I guess Border Security's not doing a good job down there. He calls me and he says, Craig, I'm desperate for money. He's like, me and you, we've seen the bracket, it's going to be us in the final. It was a $20,000 prize. He's like, what we do, no matter what happens, we just give each other 10K each. And I'm like, fuck it. Can't need some money, let's do it. So we both win our first 2 matches. We face off in the final. It's 80cc rules. At the time, I don't have a lot of wrestling. At the time, I just pull guard, take a negative, stalls me out. But the whole time I was kind of thinking, I fucking got 10K. And then the next day afterwards, the promoter's talking to DJ and stuff. And then DJ just disappears. He calls me and he's like, bro, they haven't paid me yet. And then he's like, bro, I've already spent all the money. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Shit, so you guys aren't too tight right now?
No, now he's hiding out in Batong, Thailand. But I'm gonna pay to have him assassinated. You know what I mean? Even if he puts me down another 10.
That sucks. Look, I know DJ for a long time. When I was a purple belt, he was coming up. He was called the Kimura Kid, and I used to love Kimuras as well. So we kind of knew each other. We fought at the Abu Dhabi Pro Final at Purple Belt, and I was winning by an advantage. And we had a fucking scramble, and the ref stopped at the edge of the mat, started us back in, and started him past my guard. And I'm ref, I'm not a guard. He goes, go. So DJ just holds it and gets 3 points. And I'm like, you motherfucker. So I scrambled up. I tried, it was like 30 seconds left. I'm trying to take him down. I get nothing, and I lose the match. We compete the week after, and I win the match, and I threw him because he had my gi, and I pulled it across. I reached over, and I threw him over the top, and I got an advantage for it because he was just like a cat. He just straight on top, and he was trying to get to half guard on me to get the advantage. I remember seeing his big ass face, man. He's just like trying to get on, pushing him away, and we didn't get along after that at all. And he just was really mean to me, and I didn't know why. And then like a couple of years later, he told me, he's like, look, man, I was mad because you took some of my money that I thought I should have got at the time through winning. And he goes, and it was really annoying because you were a good guy. And and then we became friends after that. And I actually, like, he's been really nice. So it's sad that I hear that because my relations with him have actually been really good. There is one story that I've never told him, and I think I'm going to have to confess right now. When me and him were the same year, we were in Abu Dhabi, and BJ Penn threw some party in somewhere there, and we're up the top, and I didn't drink alcohol this time, but I didn't want to say no to BJ because I was worried he was going to knock me out or kiss me, one or the other. And he keeps giving me shots, and I'm drinking them, and I got a cup right next to me, so I'm drinking them, I'm just turning, and I'm spitting them into this cup, right? This cup ends up about this full, and then I'm just sitting there. I remember I'm looking at this Iranian girl, pretty sure she was a prostitute, and I was in love. And then I just, my periphery is DJ grabs that drink, and he's like, what's this? And then I look at him, and he's drinking it, and I realize what it is. I'm like, and he's already taken a mouthful, and he just goes, woo! He's like, oh, yes! And I'm just like, fuck. I never told him.
That's good.
That
actually makes me feel, he'll probably need to spend that $10,000 on therapy after he hears.
I got him back. He drank my spit.
Probably not the first guy to do that, eh?
Well, he was the first, but there's been many since.
At the time, yeah, because of the purple belt, I remember you beat Philippe Pena, right, in the gi?
Same tournament. Yeah.
Same tournament.
I had, there was a guy that won the Pan Ams that I fought first round. I can't remember his name. I beat him. Then I had Philippe Pena. Now, I didn't know who Philippe Pena was at this stage, thank God.
That helps, yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, and I was just thinking, why is this fucking dude not stopping? Like, I remember I was beating him by 5-2, I think it was, and in my head, I'm just like, this guy just won't fucking give up. Like, I'm thinking, like, why do you think you deserve this win? Fucking just relax, let me win. And then Edwin Nudgery come up to me, and he's like, bro, that guy's like legit. That's Philippe Pena. And so, I didn't know who the name was back then. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then he went on to be Philippe Pena. And then I had DJ the next round, and I beat him. And then I had this guy from UAE that was nowhere near as good as anyone on my side of the brackets. And I don't know how, he must have been set up on the other side to just go through on an easy run, because I had me, Philippe Pena, DJ Jackson, the other guy that won Pan Ams the year before, all on one side. And then we had the guy from the UAE on the other side. And it was like the easiest win of the finals ever. Like, I just literally just passed his guard a few times.
Well, you got to be careful winning in the UAE. They might put you in jail, eh?
Well, let me tell you a story. I don't know. Yeah, I was always nervous about that.
That actually happened at an ADCC event back in the day. I'm trying to think. There was a guy that was, back when they used to do it in Abu Dhabi, there was a guy that faced off against a Brazilian guy. I can't remember his name. It might have been Pablo Popovic, but they were clubbing each other, and sometimes it turns into they're like starting to fight. But after the match, they just put the guy in prison for the night. Really? And I was like, fuck, I want those privileges, eh?
Jesus Christ. I would have stayed in jiu-jitsu for those privileges.
When you would come out around purple belt, because I didn't even take the gi off full time until black belt. Like, no one cared about no gi really at all. Like, ADCC was still special, but it was just once every 2 years. But no one
special. But there was like 20 people that would turn up to ADCC, and mostly UFC fighters or other wrestlers.
Yeah, there was no the prospects of having a professional career in the gi, let alone jiu-jitsu at all, was pretty slim to none. It kind of makes. We got lucky because it's like, I think back and I think, fuck, I chose a career path where at the time it didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like
you're an idiot.
Yeah, that's like,
got lucky.
Yeah, that's dumb luck.
You're a stupid motherfucker.
Yeah, because I remember the time you were sponsored by Cyber Power, you had a good deal. I remember one time I was like, yeah, you probably influenced my career choice, right? Because I remember one time my mum used her frequent flyer points to buy me a flight to some tournament.
I remember she said that.
She accidentally bought me business class, and you had gone to the same tournament. I walked into the Virgin Lounge or whatever, and I saw you in the lounge, and I was like, oh fuck, these jiu-jitsu guys must be getting taken care of.
Oh, really? Yeah, shit. So Sub Apparel sponsored us, and
He had some cash, eh?
They had some cash, okay?
Not through legal means.
Yes, there was a lot of, and I couldn't believe it. I'm thinking like, how does he have this kind of money? They were flying us like diamond class to Abu Dhabi, and I mean those tickets were like $10,000. Like they were all rolling on there. They had a bar on the plane. They were great, and then suddenly he disappeared for a little while on a concrete ground. So we lost that sponsorship, but that was good. We had Bruno Alves at the time, Antonio Carlos Jr., Cara de Zapata, Shoeface.
Fuck, he had a wild career. Hey, he was like jiu-jitsu legend. He struggled a bit in the UFC, but then he ended up winning the $1 million tournament, PFL or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember he flying triangled Gary Tonin.
Yeah, dude. I'm telling you, like when people ask me who the most talented person was, I always say he was up there for sure. He'd barely ever train. He would come and he'd be like, no, man, we just, do a couple rounds, almost like what we did today, and do like twice a week. But like, if he had set his mind to something, he was going to be amazing. But the thing I really liked about him was he was the nicest person. If he blows up, which he blew up, now he's like got a huge profile because he won PFL. And then he went into like Big Brother in Brazil.
Oh, really?
And he won the Big Brother, I think it was. And like his profile now, he's got like millions of followers on Instagram. But he's still the same dude. Like if he sees you, like he's like, come and hug and like.
Shoeface is his nickname, right?
Yeah. He lived with me one time in Australia. One time I took him to St Kilda, and then I went and did some stuff, and I come back and there's this homeless Aboriginal guy chasing him. And I'm like, what's going on here? And the guy was drunk and he's like trying to fight Antonio Carlos Jr. And I said, bro, this guy's going to kill you. Like, just go away, leave him alone. Like, and Shoeface, he said to me one time, we're in a park, and he goes, hey, kid, what's the worst word in English? Yeah, with worse English than that. And I said, cunt. And he just screamed it. Like, he goes, cunt. And I was like, fuck, bro, what are you doing, man? Like, in front of like everyone's families and shit. Yeah, he was fun. He was one of the most talented guys. So we were very lucky to get sponsored by them. But you're right. Like at that stage, I mean, jiu-jitsu was gi pretty much. I did like one session of no gi a week before that.
Yeah, it felt like a waste of time. Everyone would train once a week in no gi.
Literally, to be honest, the only reason I started training no gi is because you and fucking Lachlan wouldn't put the gi on because you're doing ADCC.
Yeah, we were like, fuck it, we're taking it off. Eh?
Literally, but then now I don't ever want to put the gi back on. I don't like the gi anymore. You're the same, right?
Yeah, I don't. First of all, I just hated fucking traveling with the thing or washing it and shit. It was such a nightmare. No-gi's just so much easier. I went into no-gi because I think the only thing I ever medaled in the gi was World Pro as a brown belt. So I was like, it was fucking hard to win. Mm-hmm. So I was like, there's less people doing no-gi. There's got to be more opportunities there. Mm-hmm. So and then EBI started and that's what we went down that path.
You still think there's less people doing no-gi?
Ooh, I think there's probably still more competitors and more regular folk training gi, but no gi just seems a bit cooler, to be honest. It's hard. I remember it would be hard to show a friend, or even like show a girl. They'd be like, "What do you do?" And you show them a picture in a kimono. Like that's just like you don't know. You didn't
get action.
Yeah, you don't know what they're thinking when they look at that. But in terms, no gi's a bit. I don't know, something about it's just a bit more interesting.
This is my thought, and the reason why I really fell in love with it, other than the fact that you can travel without having to fucking carry a gi, is I feel like it's a much more advanced version of jiu-jitsu. I think people have the misconception that gi's more complex because there's more possibilities, because you can make grips almost everywhere. But I mean, the ability to make grips is so simple. It's like you can just grip. The ability to control someone no gi is fundamentally much more difficult, and you have to have a much greater skill set and control to be able to control someone in no-gi. Anyone can go in there and just be like athletic and strong and wear people down with underhooks and overhooks, but be able to control the hands, wrists, neck, and everything, which I feel like you were one of the first people to go through and start really finessing no-gi, and that's why I love it, because I feel like it has far more top-end, like a skill roof, if that makes sense. It's far higher than what gi is. You can get more positions in the gi because of the handles, but I feel it's much more basic. It's more like bowling with bumpers. That's the way I look at gi compared to no gi.
I even think the same way when you go in towards MMA grappling. Like it's MMA grappling is simpler because there's less options, but when there's less options, you have to be better at it. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of MMA. I don't like the idea of getting punched in the face, but I like the idea of that there's only one range, and that's we're together. You know what I mean? There's no open guard. there's no point. You know what I mean? Like eliminating that aspect. So it's just a big scramble and submissions and pins. So when I'll actually prefer training with MMA guys that aren't just going to play that loose style game. Like we're making contact the entire time, basically. They're trying to, like say we were wrestling, I'm always trying to get up. You're always trying to hold me down.
Yeah.
I find that one of the most fun aspects of training these days. And then like doing weird reversals out of there.
Are you training with them with gloves or without gloves?
Without. When I work with Volks, without, Izzy without. But yeah, like the gloves do change a bit. See, hand fighting for chokes and stuff, it's a bit easier. Especially you can do it. You can cheat, sneak your fingers in there and stuff. But yeah, training with MMA guys as well makes you realize like, fuck, thank God there wasn't more money in jiu-jitsu because I probably wouldn't have made it to the top. Those MMA guys are savages.
My bookie, Ad Reed, over in Abu Dhabi will get this done. It is 6 a.m. Volks is cutting weight. I'm getting this done. When your money's on the line, choose a trusted sports book that gives you tools to win. Like my bookie, Volkanovski versus Makhachev. Obviously, Volkanovski's going to win this, disproving Sambo. I'm thinking second, third round TKO. It's going to be a much different fight than that first fight. I think a lot more pressure from Volkanovski early. He's not going to respect Makhachev as much as he did in that previous fight. There's going to be a finish in this fight, I guarantee it. Hamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman. Man, this one's interesting. I was leaning towards Usman until we were at the open workout and he injured his knee. I swear to God, that knee is injured. You just know the reaction. It's happened to us all in training. So the extent to which it's injured or the extent to which things like this typically happen with Usman, I don't know. So now I'm leaning towards Chimaev because he's bigger, healthier, younger. I think he's going to get the decision. Go to mybookie.ag, use promo code BTEAM on your first deposit and MyBookie will give you up to $200 cash bonus. That's promo code BTEAM to claim your own cash bonus. So click the link in the description and place your bets. Let me know your picks in the comments and start winning. If you want a sports book that gives you the most for your money, bet on UFC with MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Better athletes.
It's so much more scary, dude, going into a cage.
Yeah, they're like to look at what they do is crazy.
Like Rob Whittaker breaking his hand and still fighting. Dude, if I break a nail, I'm pulling out. I'm out for a while.
That's true. I don't have any desire to persevere through anything mid-match. You know what I mean? Things start going bad. Like you were talking about Philippe Penny, like, bro, you're 3 points down, give it up. That's me pretty early in the match.
Bro, if I hear it's raining outside, I'm done. I said, just fucking depressing me, I'm done.
Yeah, there's traffic, I won't make it to training.
How often do you train like now on average?
So when the Join B team opened, I was trying to lead by example and do 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. every day, every round. So it'd be like morning, it'd be 6 6s in the mornings and probably 6 8s or 6 10s at lunch. And then that was just unsustainable. Like I'd be sick every month. Nowadays, I'm doing, like you brought out the instruction on task-based learning. So like these days, I try to do a bit more of what the MMA guys do. So like leading up to ADCC trials for the guys back home, we were doing a lot of 3-minute rounds, right? So you group of 3, you're in for 6, out for 3, fresh guy every 3. Or we'd do sparring where it was like you double leg a guy to the hip. The second the guy's hip hits the ground, we go. Not so much positional sparring. Like say, for example, we do positional sparring and you start mount on me without any underhook. I don't like that style of positional sparring anymore because how often does that happen?
Yeah.
Or turtle, where you don't, say I'm in turtle and you don't have any grips. I feel like these things don't happen. What's realistic is you double leg me, put me to a hip, I turtle, you've already got some grips. Yeah. So we might as well start from the hip. And say for mount, if you pass me to mount, good chance you have an underhook and a crossface and I have a quarter guard or something. Yeah. So it's like I'd rather start back one step because you feel like you lose something. Like mount without already some tension or turtle without, I'm like trying to pull you back down, you're trying to roll away. Like you lose that aspect when you just do these static positional rounds.
Yeah, and that's the criticism people always sort of say without knowing, especially with the product I brought out. Like a couple of people have like messaged, and they've never watched my stuff, but they'll just say, yeah, we've done positional sparring. I say, yeah, it's not the same thing as like specific training where you would start. We did a lot of that when we first started. Like I'm playing guard, you're passing, and we just go from there, which I think it's fun and I think it helps, because guard and passing is a big part of jiu-jitsu. But I think that the missing link is the smaller things and the smaller transitions that happen that are super important amongst that. For example, if I'm passing and you're playing Z guard, like a big part might be trying to kill the knee shield and get, to half guard or something like that. Or when you're in half guard, trying to get chest to chest or something like that, which is a huge little, like a little sub game inside. And a couple games that I sort of did, and I almost do it backwards as well, because let's say for wrestling, for example, most people, when it comes to wrestling, don't even want to wrestle or do takedowns because they're jiu-jitsu guys. And one, they're scared of getting hurt. Okay, two, they don't even want to shoot because they don't even have the confidence that they think, well, even if I get their leg, he's just going to sprawl on me, I'm going to get hurt. So what I get like beginners especially to do is I get them to start on a single leg with a gable grip on the single leg, and I'll get them to start there and just try and finish while the guy on top is just defending. And then what happens, they get so good at understanding how to finish and they get such confidence that they are far more incentivized to actually get the single leg. So they'll actually be creative in a way, knowing, well, once I get that single leg, it's done. Like I'm going to finish that, rather than what most people do is they take more of a linear approach, whereas it's, I'm going to shoot through here just like that, grab the leg, and then I'm going to switch here. And as you know, like, it never happens like that in a match. There's so much like scrambling, fighting amongst all of these different positions. So a big part of bringing out the games was to try and create, games that, one, limit the amount of variables, because as you know, you go into jiu-jitsu, it can be unbelievably overwhelming. There's so many different things. I try and limit that into maybe one problem they can solve. And it might be very, very small. It could be just trying to, get an underhook from half guard and just do that as a beginner or something like that. And then as they get better, we start trying to like introduce more variables. And now the person underneath is not only trying to get an underhook, he's also trying to, get his knee shield back in, or he's trying to switch, and you just add more and more. And I try and get people experience in the smaller areas that are, one, super important, but that you don't get much time to practice. Let's say I'm wrestling with you and I shoot on you and you sprawl me and guillotine me, which happens a lot. Then I don't really get a chance to sort of figure out. It might happen once or twice, and then I don't see you for another year. I don't get a chance.
Especially if that happens, you won't see me.
Yeah. And I don't get a chance to figure it out. So then by the time you come back in a year's time, now I'm like, I get my second opportunity, does the same shit, it disappears again. But when you do it over and over again, you're getting instant feedback on what's working and what's not working, and if I take like a backseat look at your career, and one thing that I felt like you were doing really well, and I said this earlier when we were training, is I would always turn up to training and you and Lachlan would be making out. But after you guys made out, you guys would be practicing, and you weren't drilling techniques, you were looking at positions and you were experimenting and playing with it. And you would ask me, like, Kit, what do you think of this thing here? And you would just look at it more like a scientist looks at things and doing like case studies on it. And I think that was a huge reason that you developed the way you did, because you don't look like it. And the thing that's really difficult about you is you don't move or think like a regular grappler does. Most grapplers are just carbon copies of somebody else. They're like little Marcelo Garcias or something like that.
Nowadays, they just listen to Danaher or Gordon and it's like, mimic that, yeah.
And you can just say, and because you roll with the better ones, and you can just say, well, I know exactly what to do against this person. They're very easy to put in a box. But you, and I think of myself, we're very difficult. I don't think anyone can ever really train for that, because we're always figuring things out. We're always doing new things, and we take a very much a problem-solving approach to coming up with solutions. I mean, look at your squid guard, octopus guard.
Octopus, yeah, the reach around.
The reach around, I mean, absolute shit junk that works. You know what I mean? It's like, but it's so like, you wouldn't come up with that without doing some serious weird shit.
Yeah, some weird sparring, hey. It's funny you say that, because like often 2015, 2016, like I'd come into the gym having watched some competition footage online, and I would try to show Lachlan, but sometimes Lachlan's approach would always be, he's very like, he would shut something down without even looking at it, but then go back to it.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I still remember Eddie Cummings winning EBI, and I was drilling the elevation cross archie entry from butterfly guard, and I was drilling it, and Lachlan's like, junk wouldn't work. And then I remember his opinion of Gordon and shit at the time, I would tell him back then, I was like, yo, I think what these guys are doing is pretty good. But his instinctual reaction was like, nah, those guys suck, they'll never beat anyone, eh? And it was like it was a funny, over time, how things progressed, that when he was showing those guys the way they were doing heel hooks first, disregarded it. But then obviously he innovated off it, made his career off it, and now just has retired and ridden off into the sunset.
I remember Lachlan. I used to talk about concepts all the time. He was like a very heavy driller. And like, I was very anti-drill. And it wasn't because I didn't like drilling. I actually thought when I first started jiu-jitsu, I thought drilling was a better way to learn. I just didn't have the temperament to do it.
ADHD,
bored,
yeah.
Exactly. And I was bored about it. Plus, I actually wanted to figure things out myself. I actually liked the part of jiu-jitsu was like the problem-solving part was the part I enjoyed. So if you told me exactly how to do something, I felt like, I feel like I'm cheating myself. Where he was the complete opposite. And when I met him, it was my first tournament at white belt. I was 5 months in, and there was a brown belt competing, and he was really good. And then someone said to me, like, but that guy there, he's one of the top brown belts in the country, and it was Lachlan Giles. He was walking around with his big ass smile, his big teeth everywhere.
Buddy, he actually has the Raptor logo because of the size of his mouth.
Bro, it goes back here. I think he's got 14 extra teeth.
He could be the Jack's Joker, hey.
But Lachlan is the nicest guy you're ever going to find. Possibly autistic, a little bit weird, but the nicest guy. But he was heavy into drilling, so we would always like have a clash about it, and it's a friendly clash of discussion. But he was the same. He was always like, I think Abrinia's got it, And then one time I'm in his class, and he's teaching, and then he starts talking about concepts, and Mikhail looked at me. He's like, "Look at that!" I'm like, "This motherfucker here, what the hell?" But I feel like he definitely evolved a lot with his teaching. I've never seen what he's doing with submeta, and I think when it comes to technical application of techniques, he's miles ahead of most people. So I think he's great like that. But my honest opinion is it's not the best way to learn. But if you want to learn the technique route, I think he's one of the best people to do it with. I don't think that's the best way to learn. I think the best way to learn is allowing people to problem solve, creating small task-based games where you limit the million amount of variables and allow them to become really good problem solvers, because then what they're going to be able to do is actually come up with their own solutions, which is what me and you do a lot with our rolling. And I think the only difference, and I think the only reason I've actually been able to compete or even hold my own with other professional grapplers is because most people are approaching jiu-jitsu the wrong way. They're thinking progression of jiu-jitsu is the accumulation of techniques rather than the acquisition of skill and knowledge. If everyone trained the way I'm talking and like use task-based games, I swear to God, 100%, I would not be able to compete with anybody, because I'm there training 2 times a week most of the time. And then like I'll get like other top level guys come in and train with me, and I was just so bamboozled. They'd be the first to like, "Why aren't you not competing?" I was like, "I'm just not that interested in it right now." And then they'll be, "How the fuck are you doing what you're doing?" But like, it's the process that I think is super important. And I was very lucky that I stumbled upon it, and it was only just like I said, because I've got ADD and ADHD, and I don't have the temperament to sit there listening to it. But I think if everyone learnt like that or trained like that, the sport would evolve so much further than what it already is.
Well, that's why I don't like, sometimes students ask me a question, people ask me a question at a seminar, and I might make a joke out of them or not answer it, and they might just think, "Oh, he's being a dick." But really it's like, hey, you can figure that out. If I tell you right now, you're going to forget it. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't have any, like jiu-jitsu is full of fucking dumb weirdos, It's like, if we can figure it out, you can figure it out. So it's like, if they come to the conclusion on their own, that's going to last with them a lot longer. Because if you figure out a solution, you're going to have an emotional attachment to it because you've overcome a problem. But if every time you have an issue, you just ask your coach a question, you're never going to remember all that.
No.
It's just going to in one ear out the other.
People don't realize what learning really is. Learning is a survival mechanism. Humans have evolved to do 2 things primarily: survive and procreate. And learning is a survival tool. So the amygdala decides how deep to store information. Okay, it decides whether you need to remember something for 10 minutes or for the rest of your life. And if you think of any kind of like emotional state that you've been in, like, you've been attacked by someone, or something happened, 9/11 or something like that, most people can remember a lot of information from that moment. But the amount of times you've been taught a technique or something like that, and you're just sitting there watching it and drilling it, and you just forget it like a week later, happens all the time. People just think, oh, I just struggle, I need to drill it more and stuff like that. It's like, no, you need to add emotional context to whatever it is you're learning. Like, and that's what you're saying. If you discover something through rolling and you're excited and nervous, your coach is watching and you figure something out, it feels fucking good and you're excited. And that amygdala is emotionally aroused and tells you that, hey, we needed this to survive. It thinks that half the time it thinks you're being attacked. And it thinks, well, we're getting attacked by this grappler, so we need to learn as much as we can from this situation so that we can survive it and evolve to deal with that in the future. And that's really what learning is. So if you think about like the best ways to learn, as you're saying, it's getting people to experience things and discover it themselves. Like I can tell a kid, don't touch a fire, but that kid that's put his hand in the fire is going to remember that for the rest of his life.
Well, DJ drinking your drink.
that's
going to be with him a long time.
DJ, I'm sorry, bro. I wanted to tell you. I really did. But it was too late.
I'm happy about it, to be honest.
We made Craig happy. We did a good thing.
My best memory of you, and I'm surprised you don't either A, send it to him every day, or B, share it every day, is there's competition footage. Maybe we can put this in where Lachlan Giles is doing a toe hold on you and you're like yawning and looking around. Which is just is aged well, considering he made a career off leg locks.
Yeah, I think I did post it after he blew up at ADCC. I thought I posted it. There was a time where like he was always in the tournaments, and the thing is, Lachlan's good, right? And back then, I mean, Lachlan's really good now, but back then he was good, But because of the way I approach jiu-jitsu as more of a problem solver and a strategist, and he was much more of a specialist, it was so, and I know you had the same thing, we kind of knew his game so well. So we could let him do a lot of stuff and just be sitting there like, okay, you're gonna finish that toe hold now, because we knew him so well. I couldn't do that now. He would take my foot probably off. But back then I could. So there was a match where, he's trying to attack me, and it was a lot of that. Like Lachlan was one of my easier roles at the time, not because I was much better than him. It's just I knew exactly what he was going to do, and it was very hard for him to predict what I was going to do. And that's why, like, a lot of time, people would always ask, like, him questions, and he would always put me and you in a similar category. It'd be like, they'd say, but Kit and Craig do it. And they'd be like, yeah, that's Kit and Craig, But really, there was a process of problem solving that we kind of knew and understood that sequence or technique or, position quite well at the time, where I feel like I said he's advanced now, and I think he deserves a lot of the credit that he has. I think he had the luckiest run of anyone in ADCC. Okay, I'm not going to deny that. I think he had 3 very good big guys that most likely took him lightly, and he capitalized on that really well
and broke it. Yeah.
But in saying that, he has improved tremendously, which is a massive credit to him, because it's something that I never had, because I was always like, if I'm motivated in something, I would do really well. But the reasons that stopped my growth in a lot of areas is I got bored of things. I got bored of jiu-jitsu, and I'd take off, and I would come back after 2 years. And
you got bored of women?
The ones without penises.
I loved, back when I would train with Lachlan, like back in 2016, 2017, I always thought Lachlan was like a computer, and I could like jam the system. So I would just say things to him. Like I remember one day I came in,
put little viruses in him.
Yeah, and he would say he was on about shin on shin guard, and I was like, doesn't work. And it sat with him for over a month. He'd come back to me week after week with a different like reason why it should work. And I remember at the end of it, I was just like, bro, I'm just fucking joking. Like just fucking evil shit, eh? But yeah, I reckon me and him would roll all the time, but I reckon I would just, my goal in jiu-jitsu has always been to frustrate someone to the point that they're out of their game, like just to annoy them.
Yeah, I think you reached that.
Yeah.
I think you have like one of the most frustrating styles there is. Like, and it's annoying, especially annoying for me, because I don't get a chance to really work and figure you out a lot of the time. I get like, you come in every like couple of years,
just sneak
and do shit that I'm just like.
That's why I do better. Like say for example at B team, right? Like if I'm there all the time, if I'm just there all the time, like regularly, guys will start to figure out the weird shit I do and do better than me. But then when I'm traveling and I might not even be training, I might be partying, like just living it up, I'll go back and they're confident they're going to fuck me up because they're like, fuck, I've been training hard. The second he comes in, I'm going to rip his head off. But then they haven't dealt with me just doing annoying weird shit, and I get him again, and it just fucking is this negative feedback loop where they get so angry. And that's really the only thing that keeps me in the game. You know, the second they start beating me, I'll just stop training and rob them.
Just quit.
Like Joseph Chen, within 1 year, he's going to be beating me, and that might be my call for retirement because I've done so many horrible things to him. I've tapped him with body locks, I've strangled him, I've suffocated him.
And you adopted him, right?
So yeah, no one else would.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't blame him.
It wasn't cheap. But yeah, when he gets revenge, I'm going to be scared for my life.
Why is he getting so good so quick?
I mean, he's a bit like a Lachlan Giles in a sense that he's a computer as well, but like he's only been training 4 years maybe now, and he's just illegally acquired every instructional you could ever illegally acquire. He's studied them religiously, but then not just studied them, but then taken the practical application too, to really try to figure it out for himself.
And he really kind of shot up 3 weeks ago when I released my new product, right?
Oh, yeah. He credits his entire success. He credits his 80cc trials victory, which he did before your product, to your product.
Dude, I mean, yeah, he was seeing a psychic, and the psychic was telling him what I was about to release.
That's funny because I told him to see a psychologist, not a psychic, but I must have written a message short. He needs it after me. No, actually, we just saw him. We were over in Bali with him. But yeah, he was a monster out there. He really trains all the time. I guess I was like that when I was younger. I was like, I cannot miss a session. Now I'm like always thinking, I could probably miss this one. Sometimes you show up to the gym and like, if your favorite training partner's not there, I'll be like, is it worth me taking a shower? You know what I mean? I look at it and I'm like, do I want to get sweaty and have to take a shower to do this? You lose a bit of the job. I just want to show up, have a bit of a scrap, and then go about my day.
Yeah, like what we did today.
Yeah, we rolled for 3 minutes and said, you know what, we better call it a day.
It was probably too much.
Yeah.
You know, we could have finished in 30 seconds.
Overtraining.
I've turned up to training many times with my bag, and I sit down, I look at who's there, and I'm just like, nah. And I literally left. I swear to God.
You should have done the day you got your leg broken.
Oh, dude, that day was the worst. Oh, which one? The one that recently?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I turned up to training, and usually I'll turn up to training and I'm going to record the training because I'm hoping to get something that I can put on my some highlight on my Instagram.
Oh, you got it.
I got a bad one. And he was there, and he was the 100 kilogram 2005 freestyle world champion from Russia.
That's another word for pulling guard, hey?
Yes. And he was like, I didn't want to train with anyone. I decided to bring my camera this time. I'm like, I'm just going to train and just go soft. I was tired. And then he was there and I was like, fuck, there's no one else here because he's big. He's like 300 pounds now. And I said, there's no one else here that I really trust him rolling because I think he's going to hurt somebody. So I thought, I wrestled with him the week before and I out-wrestled him. And he took a break twice in the 5 minute round. Like he was exhausted and then I bumped his head and he was, oh, and I was like, oh man, this guy. So he came in and this time he wanted revenge. So he went hard for the first 2 minutes and like we hit the brick wall and then he pulled me in and I'm thinking like, you know, usually if you touch a brick wall, you come in and tap each other and you start again. As I'm walking in, he snaps me down and you can probably put this into this, snaps me down. And then I'm defending like the snap down, and then my legs are quite wide, and he goes for that throw. I don't know what it's called, but it's a throw that I know Danaher made it illegal, and a few other places made it illegal.
Hip into the knee.
Yeah, and just fucking destroyed my knee. He didn't mean to. It just a lot of people were like hating on him. He's like a big friendly dog. You know, like those big dogs that just run in and bowl you over. You know, the ones you give peanut butter to and shit. One of those. So you know, he did that. But I can't even remember what the fuck the point of that conversation was.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of injuries, hey, like I think part of my success is I've, touched wood, luckily been able to dodge most bad injuries. I injured my shoulder bad one time, but for the most part, been able to have my entire career. I feel like some people overtrain so hard or they don't tap to things in competition that they end up off the mat so long. Some guys just... One guy, Lachlan Moore, and I came up with, and we were like, he was a good purple belt.
I remember him, yeah.
But he was just made of glass, you know. So it was like, no matter how hard.
He was like a Walmart version of you.
Yeah, bigger dick though, but yeah. He really just got injured so much his body couldn't sustain the training. I feel like there's some people out there like that it's like they just gotta a bad roll of the dice.
That's me, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been on what you call a cooler in poker, where in the last 5 to 6 years I've just had one injury to another. Every now and then I'll be interested, especially I'm glad you don't live in LA, because if you did, I would be still doing jiu-jitsu a lot, because I get excited and I get motivated.
Don't tempt me to ruin your life again.
Fucking stay away from me, bro. Stay away. And I just, anytime I've decided, it's usually after you come, I'm like, you know what, I want to get back into this.
I'm going to get him next
I get injured. You know what I mean? And I feel like I've had that, but I think you're right when you talk about overtraining. You've got to imagine that the brain is trying to absorb a lot of information, and when you sleep, it needs to store a lot of information. And if you kind of treat it a little bit like the way you would doing weights, most people doing weights all day, and it's they're going to completely just burn their muscle down so much they don't get the time to regrow. And I've always approached jiu-jitsu like that. I want to do the bare minimum that I have to do so that I get the maximum amount of growth. Problem is, you're probably not going to be that fit, but it's not too much of a problem with me because I don't compete professionally like that anymore. But I feel like in terms of progression, it's the best way to do it. Plus, I turn 38 soon. It's better for my body like that. If I was to try and push a lot, which I never really did anyway, even when we were training back in the day, I would try and, I would come in, I'd be very lucky if I did 5 days a week. And that was for most of my career, even before I met you, and I was training Peter Beans. But I don't think you need to train so much. And I think there's the point that you get diminishing returns, plus you put a massive tax on your body as well.
And on your pretty personal life too. These days I'm moving towards, I used to think, I need to do 10 6-minute rounds or whatever, 6-minute rounds. But now I'm moving towards thinking say we do these 3-man groups, you're in for 6, out for 3. Mm-hmm. 18 minutes of that, 3 goes of that, is almost blows your lungs out more than the longer rounds.
Yeah.
And more occurs in the realm of pins, scrambles, submissions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're not going to be as perfect in the in-between positions, but in terms of it's like a Tabata versus a marathon. It feels better on my body. And I feel like I actually try more, train harder. I'm open to losing more scrambles and taking more risks, because you're thinking, this is a fresh guy after 3. I'm already at a deficit. Yeah. We've got to go for it. Yeah. So I find that training more productive than these guys.
You up a little bit. But it also can put more pressure on you in a sense too, that'll make you, especially when people are watching you, because they're usually the third person's out watching you, and you don't want to lose. And the same sort of thing, you activate your amygdala and you're going to remember a lot more from those rolls. So I feel like the same thing. If you 18 minutes of that is equivalent to an hour, of just regular training.
We'll do that, and then we'll chat a bit about it afterwards. That third man, because we'll have a narrative within it, right? So if you've already done your 3 and the fresh guy comes, we tell that fresh guy, hey, you come in and you fucking kill this guy.
Go after him.
But then obviously what happens is now you're tired for the next guy. But we'll create that narrative. We'll problem solve a bit after. And if anything, while we're eating lunch, we might watch the security tape footage, which the main purpose of that is to humiliate the people you've trained with. But a bonus is obviously you gotta study. Yeah, we pretend like we're doing it for technical, but it's really just to attack each other and brag. The security camera footage is one of the funniest additions to the gym ever. Hey,
I love that.
I sell it. Hey, I offer a package. If someone comes and visits, I say, hey, for $1,000, you can submit me on the security camera and take it home with you.
Fucking hell. I think I don't like to turn up to training without recording anything, because anytime I feel like I've not recorded, then something really good's happening. And that's when I'm always I'm not going to, even that bad thing with my knee, I didn't record that day. It was his partner that recorded it, and I was lucky I got the footage off him, but I would have been fuck, man.
Imagine if he injured you and then was like, no, you can't have the footage.
Yeah, dude. I was surprised. I don't think he has Instagram, because if you saw how much hate he'd get, he would have tried to kill me. But he's the scariest Russian dude. From my movies that I get made, I'm going to for sure cast this dude, because he's huge. He's 6'5" and just the scariest looking dude on the planet.
That's a good thing about any Russian can play a Russian, because they don't show any emotion anyway. There's no expression. So
yeah, weird.
We we're here at PJ Bartz's gym. We were all rolling today. The second we started rolling, there were like 3 cameras came out straight away.
Yeah, I saw that.
Immediately.
Yeah. Someone's dick came out as well.
Oh, I mean, that was
me.
mine. Yeah. You too.
I was jerking off. It's the most uncomfortable fucking part of my ass on this seat.
It's getting a good sweat, eh? But fuck, 11:40, we probably got to head to the airport now. But I'll actually, given I did all right with it today, it'll probably be 2 years until I see you again.
Look, I think I'm going to come after you this time. I'm going to come after you. I'm going to be hiding in the change rooms and just get you in the shower when you're tired. Just get you real good. Thank you, bro.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you for listening to El Segundo Podcast. Don't forget, Fat Cry Jones.